MLB Network insider Ken Rosenthal has reported that the Los Angeles Angels have acquired all-star outfielder Vernon Wells from the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for catcher Mike Napoli. As far as Napoli going to Toronto, he was arbitration eligible, made $3.6 million in 2010, and stood a lofty raise. His .238 batting average last season was his lowest since his rookie year, but he did hit a career-high 26 home runs with a career-best 68 runs batted in. In terms of Vernon Wells, he was set to become the Blue Jays' all-time leader in a handful of offensive categories had he stayed in a Toronto uniform for 2011. That's not the case. You talk about the money component here. 4 years left on his big deal, and he's got $86 million still coming to him. Now Sprint connects us to the man who broke the deal, MLB Network insider Ken Rosenthal. Kenny, we've got all the particulars here. Are there other ramifications, and what other details can you add to this big blockbuster trade?
Well, Matt, as far as I know, it is not just Wells for Napoli. There are other players involved. This is all pending physicals. Wells was in Anaheim for a physical today. He is waiving his no-trade clause, but this is not official. And, again, I don't know all of the particulars yet as far as which players are involved. My understanding is it's going to be far bigger than simply Wells for Napoli. In terms of sheer numbers, I don't think the players will be of any greater magnitude than Vernon Wells, that's for sure. And what this means for the Angels is that Vernon Wells takes over in center. They play Torrey Hunter in right. And clearly they've addressed their biggest need, which was for a big bat. Didn't get it with Carl Crawford. Didn't get it with Adrian Beltre. Wells, who had that big bounce-back year last year, would fit.
And let me follow up with that as we continue to talk about this huge deal. The fact that the Angels swung and missed at some high-profile free agents, folks that watch that camp work were thinking one of two things. Either they simply failed to get what they wanted, or that it signaled a shift in Artie Moreno's spending philosophy and that the Angels might be pulling back. Can we assume that in going out and picking up a guy that's got a lot of money still coming to him, that the Angels are still spenders for 2011?
Matt, absolutely. And Wells is a guy who is owed $86 million over the next 4 years. It's a lot of money. Might not be as much money as Carl Crawford got. It's comparable in guaranteed dollars to what Beltre got, but over one less year. The Angels were never retrenching. They simply did not succeed. And keep in mind also, there's some money going back in this deal. Napoli, seemingly for sure, and perhaps even Juan Rivera. And that would be another salary not at the Vernon Wells level, but one that would help defray this. And I would think perhaps there's some money going back and forth in the deal separate from those contracts as well, though I do not know that.
A deal that may, in fact, include more players and a bigger scale. Ken Rosenthal breaking the story. Mike Napoli headed to Toronto in exchange for Vernon Wells. Ken, thank you. Let's talk about this deal, Tom. This is a big one. I mean, not a lot of us saw this one coming. I mean, we knew that that big contract was there. It was something of a 600-pound gorilla in small-market Toronto. But here we are. He's now going to Southern California.
Yeah, I thought, Danny, you made a great point. 12 months ago, we thought that contract was unmovable. And here it is, after a nice year by Vernon Wells, a bounce-back year. He's attractive to the Angels, partly because, as Kenny said, they've missed out on two big bats in the offseason as free agents. There's no doubt Wells is going to help this team. I question the investment given his age and the dollars, but this is a move they had to make. I thought they were short offensively. I'd like to see where they go defensively in their outfield, because we thought Peter Burgess was the answer for them. He's the guy that made Torrey Hunter leave center field for right field. And if you have an outfield of Abreu in left, Wells in center, and Hunter in right, there's some age there, and you lose some of that athleticism that Burgess gave you. Now, Burgess maybe gets a chance to force his way back into the picture. We'll see how it plays out.
Or they could still go after Pitsednik, a leadoff. They still don't have a legit leadoff hitter. Then you could put him in left and let Abreu DH, because right now there's no really DH out there right now. So they could still add on with a leadoff hitter, a left-handed guy that can run a little bit in left field, and let Bobby Abreu DH and maybe spell some guys in the outfield.
You know, this could be the move that really kind of lights the fire under Vernon Wells. If he's had one huge criticism, that he kind of plays a little bit ho-hum, you know, playing in Toronto, you know, you're playing in a city mostly known for hockey and winter sports, that you can kind of go up to the city of Toronto, play for the Blue Jays, and, you know, you're not going to really raise a whole lot of, you're not going to draw a lot of attention. You know, Mike Scioscia might be the kind of guy that might be able to light a fire under Vernon Wells, because if you look at his skill set, he can hit for power, he can hit for average. He's an above average runner. He's not the same center fielder, Larry, he was 4 or 5 years ago, but there's some upside, and I think if the Angels can light a fire under him, they might be able to get some production.
You know, that's what I was going to ask Tom. You know, you've probably seen them play more than I have lately. How would you rate between the two, Wells and Torrey Hunter, as center fielders? Who would you, if you were the manager, who would your center fielder be?
That's a really, really good question. I can't lose with either one. I'd lean a little bit towards Wells. Now, listen, offensively, he got that wrist fixed last year,
right,
and I thought they made a big difference in his game. So I would expect him to continue on a comeback track in 2011.